Please welcome Claire Rosenzweig, President and CEO of the Better Business Bureau serving Metropolitan New York.
Good morning. Whoa. Good morning. I'm Claire, and this is the 13th annual Charity Effectiveness Symposium put on by the Better Business Bureau's Education and Research Foundation. And this is the 12th time that this program is being hosted at Baruch, so I want to thank our hosts. Today we come together to share insights about how nonprofits are working to make positive change in their operations and in the world at a time when rapid change is about the only constant we can count on. Our distinguished speakers today will talk about their visions for a better future and how they strive to make those visions a reality through strategic management and communications. As always, the roots of this program are in our BBB standards for charity accountability's 2 effectiveness standards. We're aiming to help charities drive their mission in effective ways. Now, we have a packed program this morning, a lot of different speakers. But it's important to say to everyone that BBB is a standards-based organization, so keep that in mind throughout the program. And we're totally nonpartisan. As a trusted monitor in the marketplace, we promote ethical business practices and fight against fraud, and we help people find businesses and charities that they can trust. We can never do this program without a big thank you to a lot of different organizations. I'm going to highlight just a few, but you have materials in your packets which go into detail. But the main and very important and big thank you to our symposium's patron sponsor, American Express, Richard Brown, sitting right there having his coffee. Thank you very much. Many thanks to major sponsor, New York Community Trust, and to benefactor sponsors, JMT Consulting and PwC. Their support is deeply appreciated, and again, it makes it possible to present this program to all of you in the way that we do. At this time, I would like to invite David Birdsel, Dean of Baruch's Marx School of Public and International Affairs, and help me welcome him to the podium this morning.
Thank you, Claire, and good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to see you here, and it's remarkable to think that we're seeing one another here for the 12th time in a row. It's been a terrific collaboration over these dozen years with BBB, and with all of the distinguished representatives of the third sector that we've gathered here on Tuesday mornings to talk about critical issues in the sector. This year, we're posing, as Claire has so ably introduced, 2 concepts that are, I think, at one level aligned and ideally aligned in each of our organizations and the sector overall, but actually frequently find themselves in tension. And that is the notion of vision, the grand arc of ambition that drives us as individuals, as organizations, as a collection of organizations trying to achieve big things, and then outcomes, which tend to be a little bit more bland, a little bit more pedestrian, a little bit more quotidian, and as we know, extremely difficult to demonstrate, and really hard to demonstrate to the satisfaction of funders. We'll go back there in a moment. So I'd like to take a moment to reflect on some of the things that might give us a sense of how to balance the relationship between vision, the big picture, and outcomes, which are very small bore considerations in most of our organizations. And I want to go directly to politics. I don't want to do that just simply to make Claire nervous, because this is going to be a completely nonpartisan walk through a couple of political issues. I want to talk about it because this is all very top of mind for us right now. How would we have imagined back in, let's go all the way back to the 2016 political campaign, that we would have a Democratic Party right now coalescing around the idea of 2 3-word slogans, Medicaid for all, or Medicare for all, that people use it differently, or Green New Deal. right? These are both big vision notions. They don't have a lot of policy specifics in them, and they don't have necessarily particular outcomes that are projected other than the wonderful halcyon world we would live in were either or both of these things to obtain. Every 40 years or so in American politics, we've had big vision-based transformations. FDR really upsetting the apple cart in profound ways that exist to this day in the 1930s, continuing into the 1940s. Ronald Reagan arguably rewriting that apple cart, the vision of some, but now instead of moving toward an expansive vision of government, declaring government to be the problem. And then in 2016, God knows what happened in 2016. We're still trying to process what that was. But it clearly wasn't corporate republicanism. It clearly wasn't big government liberalism. It was a very different view of what the political element should be and how you should set the table. Now, I wanted to raise this not because I want to make a political argument, not because I want to talk about the virtues or the vices of a historical era, much less of a party or a person. But I do want to talk about periods of protean change. And I would argue that we are in such a period right now. We do not know whether we are going to come out of the other end of 2020 and into 2021 in an era of a Green New Deal, or in an era of Medicare for all, or in an era of making America great again. We don't know. But what we do know is that we have a unique opportunity to try to think about what those broad sector visions are as they apply to the work that we do and how we do it. And that, it seems to me, is a profound area of study for each one of us individually and for each one of us institutionally. Where do we fit on that in that firmament? How does what we do and what we achieve create some kind of motion and consolidate a vision of what we can do? And then critically, how do our outcomes, and outcomes, by the way, never, ever achieve all of a vision, right? I mean, let's be real. For everybody in here working in homeless services, are we going to eliminate homelessness in the next 10, 15, 20 years? No, we can reduce it, we can mitigate it, but are we going to eliminate it? That's the vision, right? Is it going to all go away? It will not. There is no public policy that has ever been 100% successful, right? Except for the Charities Bureau of New York and all that they're doing to enforce good standards of fiscal responsibility and fiduciary obligations and nonprofits in New York State. But aside from that one exception, no public policy programs are ever 100% successful. So how do you come up with outcomes that are themselves intrinsically valuable, measurable, and that sustain that vision? The President of the United States is having a little trouble with that with his base right now. The outcomes aren't necessarily matching the vision, even for the most avid partisans of the president. It's not a political observation, it's an empirical observation. What can we take away from that? What is the outcome that makes people double down on a vision that is the vision that serves the populations that we exist to make happier, better, smarter, longer lived, and better housed? Those are the questions that animate us today, and we are going to hear from a roster of brilliant speakers who are able to answer those questions in ways that speak to us right here. We can't do that without you. Thank you very much for coming here for the 12th time at Baruch and the 13th time overall. Thanks again to the BBB, and thanks to all of our distinguished speakers and supporters.
Thank you. As always, a great way to start the morning, lots of energy, and thanks for that vision of helping us how to see today. I thank you. I also want to just call your attention once again to a lot of the others that we need to thank before we get into our next session here. We have 18 event supporters this year, and I just want to thank all of them for helping us to spread the word about this program. And in your packet, again, I'm not going to go through all of them. They're all very important, mind you, but this would take all morning to thank all of them. But please take note of all of the organizations that help to make today possible. And I also want to make sure that you know, as I'm sure you do, that these programs don't just happen. We had a program committee of thought leaders led by our own Luana Lewis, our SVP of programs, who I just want to thank very much, and the rest of our BBB staff. If you need anything during the day, please just find any one of us and we will try to help you out.